Because I know Professor Berg will walk around.
Yes.
So I will not stand here. So I will not ask him to walk first. I will walk first. Thank you. And yes, today my topic is about urban immunology and hardy city. But hardy does not mean that hardy. I will explain later. I'm now working in Southeast University in China, Nanjing, quite close to Shanghai actually. 2 years ago, I worked in Hiroshima University, so I really appreciate a lot of Japanese as a colleague to help me. And today we are talking about the health city network. And because we are really in a very, very so-called turbulent world, and we are facing very, very difficult time. After my very long, let's say, learning in Japan, also professional work in Japan, I learned a lot, and because my original, let's say, background in the transportation railway, actually. So the high-speed railway is my really, my very, very, let's say, favorite, actually, field. But unfortunately, when I moved to Japan, I started looking at the urban transport. Later on, studying some, let's say, behavior-based planning, especially in the transport field. And after moving to the consulting company, today Professor Nagayo introduced OS. I really heavily involved in the development of first generation of ITS in Japan, deeply in the PCKK, very hard work place, but really I enjoyed. So I mentioned because today is a very difficult time now. We really need to make a dramatic change in your thinking, the way of thinking. So today, yesterday, we have very wonderful talk by different professors in different fields, starting from, let's say, some philosophical discussion like Professor, let's say, Huang. We have, let's say, very great framework from Professor Pavini, and also good practice in terms of robot architecture and let's say grassroots work field in different, let's say, locations. So we're talking about, you just have a question about what we need to do for the future. And can you imagine this the future in your mind? By the way, I made this slide by myself using AI. So everybody now is enjoying AI. It's quite powerful. And yesterday I also taught two of PhD students to learn how to use AI. And actually, later I mentioned, I'm now also doing some research on this one, flying cars, for example. So the reality is this one. During the 20th century, right, especially, we really, let's say, evidenced those great acceleration in terms of, let's say, improved, let's say, quality of life in different fields, transportation, communication, energy, tourism, whatever, right? Popular urbanization. But at the same time, we really, let's say, caught a lot of troubles in terms of loss of biodiversity, emissions, right? Pollutions, a lot. One of my new research, soon I will finish another one, about how to look at, this is a global, let's say, figure. I also did some in China. Yesterday, probably you mentioned about planet health. I define this one as it's a more understanding. I call planet health as a co-health of individual person with society and nature. We need to realize the co-health, collaborative health. Before I left Hiroshima University, I helped our school to accelerate Planet Health Center. Now still working very well, I think. I think our team member already joined the Planet Health Alliance as a key member. Last year, we had a meeting in, let's say, Kuala Lumpur, let's say, Malaysia. And our chair talking about, let's say, developing country. But personally, I don't really like this term. Because look at what happened now. Right? We're really, we're ugly as argument over the whole global world. We are now talking about SDGs up to 2030. Now, after 2030, what will we do? What do we do? Personally, when we look at, let's say, all the challenges in different type of countries, I don't think the term of developed or developing country are really good term. When we're talking about, let's say, the balance between the people, nature, and the culture, for example, I think we need new names. One of my, let's say, respected professor, Professor Yoshitsugu Hayashi, we are working well together under the, let's say, the Club of Rome. So what's the future? I personally propose maybe SDG, next SDG, maybe harmonized development. Which country is more harmonized in terms of the definition by itself? In terms of, let's say, the minority and the cultural history and whatever your definition? Not only, let's say, based on the money, wealthy, but also based on the quality of life, or let's say, coexisting with this nature, culture, right? How to respect each other, for example. But I don't know, anyway, it's one of my, let's say, and this is actually, this figure represents everything, let's say, for the, this long time, let's say, effort by myself to promote interdisciplinary research. For the future city and society, personally, because I have, I'm willingly, or maybe sometimes I was forced by some project to rethink what we can make use of our existing knowledge to propose some, let's say, solutions for future. Then I'm summarizing to several. For example, my main original background is the transportation. But transport is well connected in every sector. COVID-19, evidence one. For the human, let's say, life, for the first time, it's big, I don't use the term of experiment. It's big, let's say, trial over the whole global world. Without transport, we can do nothing. Right? But I will not touch less deeply about the transporting or policy approach proposed, let's say, recent year. And we'll be looking at the quality of life. So our lives connected in many domains. Then I also propose a life-oriented approach to try to cut the boundary of different disciplines, to understand people decision, to understand how we can help people to work, let's live well in city society. And this year, I will publish 2 books by, let's say, this Springer. At first, actually, I proposed 1 book. Springer says let's say, more than 600, they say too big. And they asked me to divide it into 2 books. It's all about urbanization, but it's urban immunology. So what's urban immunology? AI now. What AI? We're trying to make use of human intelligence to help figure out the future based on the big data, maybe massive, much bigger data. We got, let's say, it's a big model, right? Big language model. A lot of new terms, anyway. The future will be maybe dramatically changed because of AI development, okay? But what we can learn, AI is a database. Intelligence comes from how you use the data. But my question, what we use, what's the purpose, why we use those massive data? We have a lot of urban disease, right? So social disease, you have different names, challenges, congestion, let's say social activity, whatever. Why we don't learn from our human body, immune system? Once we have, let's say, pathogen, disease, our human body can automatically detect it and sometimes self-healing. So this concept is very much connected to planet health, to look at the connection between the 3 key pillars, nature, human, and society. and look at how to figure out how to, let's say, tackle the unsustainable development caused by the inconvenient connection between nature and society, how to, let's say, improve social exclusion between the individual society, and how to, let's say, overcome so-called nature unfriendly behavior, actions. All those actually, while, let's say, fit within the urban immunology framework, linked with, let's say, different type of urban development I will mention later. So actually, it's if you go back here, hearty city here, not that hearty. H represents healthy, E represents eco city or energy saving city. A represents, you can say, smart city, or I say AI driven city, resilient city, tourism city. Thailand is a bank of worldwide as a tourism city. Also, we also need to provide people with healing city, let people feel good. Later I will explain. So if you look at the human immune system, everybody know yourself, right? When you got a sick, you know how your body protect you, right? Where the disease come from, right? And you need to activate those T cell, B cell to identify what type of, let's say, virus, then how to react. Then later on you have to remember your reaction because you need to enhance your immune level. It's called adaptive, let's say, immunity. We have a so-called, let's say, or parent gene-based immunity, we call the innate, right, let's say, immunology. That will give you automatic, let's say, response without any, let's say, thinking. And city can also actually, we can very match the city, we call urban immune system. We can do the same thing. And during the COVID-19, as I mentioned, I did a 3-year COVID-19 research together with my, let's say, international friends, colleagues. We really work very hard to understand how to overcome such a, let's say, global crisis. And currently, actually, I'm also leading another task force, not after finishing the task force on COVID-19, under the WCDRS, World Conference on Transport Research Society. Now I'm leading another global crisis task force, see how the global crisis, including the geopolitical conflict, climate change, or disasters on, let's say, transport, logistics, supply chain. So if you look at the, let's say, the risk management, we can make use of the human, let's say, immune system, starting from detect, let's say, risk virus, to inform people, to inform actors to try to react, and later on you can enforce reaction, response, and you need to collaborate with different stakeholders. We have many cells, we work together to try to fight against the virus. You also need to transfer your knowledge, right, experiences. It's quite, let's say, natural process. Actually, it include very, very intelligent insights to, let's say, help us to manage the whole process of policymaking. All human body already inform us. Why don't we use that? For that, this is a case for, I apply this approach to give you, let's say, how to make a comprehensive, let's say, management for the whole carbon reduction, let's say, process for the whole transport sector. We can divide the whole action into 6 domains, from, let's say, energy, let's say, energy consumption, emission, activity, transport needs, and also the population. Then for each domain, you can apply this direct approach to check the process seamlessly. Very, let's say, comprehensive, based on the all human intelligence, human immune intelligence. We can also, just last year, the Japan Scientific Council asked me to introduce a digital health research by myself, together with my, let's say, health, let's say, colleague. They asked me, do you have any idea to apply the same that approach? I say, yes. I can actually divide, let's say, to propose such a health promotion identity, similarly to the carbon reduction, into 5 domains. Again, follow the same process. I will not show the detail. say it from you have unhealthy behavior, factors affecting the behavior, stakeholders, and also the common context. Another, let's say, field, when you apply the, let's say, urban immunology, we need the energy. We need, let's say, to manage the disasters. Also, we also need very, let's say, safe, resilient urban underground spaces for each city, right? For each city. You can just apply the same, let's say, process to see how we redefine the connection between these three: energy, disaster, and underground. I will not really touch the detail. And the policies for based on the immune system, we emphasize the cross-system collaborations, cross-system monitorings, cross-system responses. Okay. And another very interesting topic, as I mentioned, I draw AI as figure. Recently, I'm also working very deeply into the development of how to apply drones, flying cars in the city. In China, last year, we called it the first year of low altitude economy. We are, for the whole country actually, already have big plan to try to deploy one. We see the challenges, but also see the very well, let's say, opportunities. We talk about the low altitude economy, basically under the 3,000, let's say, meter below, or mostly actually 1,000. How we make use such a space to overcome existing traffic problems, allowing, let's say, some emergent use of, let's say, logistics and other, let's say, purposes like a business, whatever we can use when you face challenges on surface transport. This is, again, kind of analogies or using the human system to see how we can use, for example, white blood cell, innate immunity, adaptive immunity, and also cytokines to, let's say, reflect or thinking the way of, let's say, dealing with such a low, let's say, altitude economy. The key, each technology I mentioned has to be in total 8. You can actually just borrow the insight from immune system to see why we need sample autonomous drone logistics. Because you need the whole human body, actually many cells working 24 hours, the whole year, unstopped, right? Continuously. Similarly, if you really want to have, let's say, deploy such a low altitude economy mobilities, because on the sky, you have to have a very, very seamless, continuous monitoring, checking, controlling system. Human body suggests us how to do. Right? And we also need, let's say, infrastructure, as it's quite much related to our field. How to, let's say, plan, let's say, those landing, let's say, port, and within city, either on the top of the roof or on some open space, whatever. You have to find out what's the, let's say, available spaces. And fine. And next one, we can also apply the similar, let's say, things. Yesterday, one professor talking about the silver economy. In China also, we say the same, let's say, silver economy. I'm also involved in such a project. Now I'm leading 2 working research group. One's called the Transport, Energy, Material Research Group. Another is the Transport, Tourism, and Health Research Group. We're looking at, let's say, how to further implement such a, let's say, integration. Again, the same, we also, let's say, design such a connected system based on the human system. I met, I think, Professor Pavani in 2018, I think. At that time, I tried to go to border along the Mekong River, from Thailand to Cambodia. I had a 4-year actually project for cross-border development based on the GSPS project. And for cross-border development, I think it's quite interesting. Now we're talking about globalization or maybe decoupling, whatever. We should need to connect with each other. Border is really key point. Here we can again apply the same immune system inside to derive some really, let's say, wonderful strategies, including such as cultural fusion and alliance, let's say, etc. So hearticity. Hearticity, each added components are not independent. You can see that, say, if you apply the AI is really vulnerable when the network collapses, right? Everything will disconnect it, really vulnerable. But if you use the AI very smartly, you can resolve a lot of problems. This is also the way why Professor Nagai mentioned about the society 5.0, why we have so many, let's say, projects over the whole world looking at the smart city, large language model development sample, right? And we should see both dilemmas and also co-benefits, okay? That's the reason these 6 components are not independent. That's the reason I define the city. Are you sure? Because yes, I asked a question. When you look at urban development, the basic challenge, biggest challenge is how to overcome the sectoral barriers. If you promote health city, others say, what about my industry? Right? You only talk about health, right? So our city, Bangkok, is a healthy city only, the cultural city, tourism city. No, it's a complex city, complex identity. We need to realize multiple objectives for urban planning. In here, I think these 6 components represent the key development concepts. That's the reason hearty city is not just a name combination of these 6, let's say, characters, but the key directions for the future. Maybe. Okay? And again, you can also, let's say, match each components with human immune system. You can even, as I mentioned, we have some, let's say, dilemmas and co-benefits. You can make use of more detailed functions of cells of, let's say, organism sample to see how you can understand, to scientifically understand the connection between these different components. Based on such, let's say, different type of applications of immunology system in the 2 books that will publish soon this year, I figured out 9 principles for urban immunology. The first one called critical dependence principle. Every city, society, we have a key structure, the key system, the core system. They are independent each other, dependent less on each other. Okay, which to figure out first. Avoidance. We have to try to avoid risks, whatever conflict, as much as possible. We have to tolerate for some less risk, for example, earthquake, flooding, whatever. We have to understand the risk exists. We cannot really fully clear that, right? It's called tolerance. Adaptation, you don't need to say because it's less simple. Regulation. We need to regulate many behaviors, actions, what planning some. Collaboration, very clear. We have to, let's say, incorporate, reflect diversity into the whole process of planning, policy making. This one a little bit complicated because robust. I invent a new term called a robust resilient. Is it robust? You can say the robust resilient regeneration principle, because resilience sometimes I think the term a little bit unclear, fuzzy. Last one is called coherent. We can actually, so as any, I'm trying to propose this urban immunology as a scientific system. Scientific system must meet 3 key criteria: validity, comprehensiveness, and also significance. These, if I look at the whole 9 principles, it's very well, let's say, meet these 3, let's say, criteria. But at the same time, we have no perfect theory. No perfect theory. We still need to make use existing urban planning theory to try to enhance the scientific feature for the urban immunology. This will be the last, let's say, two more slides. We can apply this, nine these principles to different type of, urban challenges. These years, we have, I named this one called spatial interference hazard. So any hazard occur nearby the human settlement, we call it urban interference hazard. Flooding, landslide, even skyfall during the high, strong wind, right? We have a lot of, things fly over the sky, called damages. Tree fell down, right? Many things. Now we have a flying car, right? So we can apply these 9 principles to see how we can propose some really innovative solutions. Quite well, actually, good ideas we can figure out very different from traditional thinking. So with this, as I mentioned, I'm trying to propose a more international, interdisciplinary framework to try to, think from our such a scientist how to, understand existing challenges, especially how to figure out the solution for future. Sometimes we need to really to go beyond our own field and try to learn more from other fields, and especially integrate a lot of this together to see how we can, have much better the future development. So thank you very much. This is all my talks.